Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's July the 1st. We're starting a new month. June's already behind us. I just don't know where this year. It seems like we're just starting the new year just yesterday, and it's already summertime. The summer's already halfway over, so um, we'll be getting into the fall when we start to get some really good trading in most cases. But the price action has been really good the last few days, so the volatility maybe will continue. But again, we kind of we ended up for the day because we closed way down here at 2054.50 yesterday, and we closed it. We're already heading back to the 2100 area again. So we closed up today, although not quite as high as what we reached during the overnight. So this was I'd almost classify this as another range type day, although we had a nice strong two-legged trend up, and this is one leg, little correction, then a second leg, and then really for most of the day we had this two-tiered channel that was kind of working lower here, real obvious. You probably couldn't find this really until um, we got this third touch that confirmed it right here. And then you just want to copy it and drag it to the bottom. And of course, that's exactly where we turned up once we hit it. And where do we go? We go the other side and then back down. And it's actually a little short term trend line right up through here that I don't have on here. But again, it was another nice trading day, another nice, this looks like this is probably going to be a little steeper than what I originally had it. And notice that gap right there, right where that line goes through. That's what made me want to change it. It's amazing how you'll see that over and over and over. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. You can see the move up, the trend down, and there were some clues here that we might come up short and reverse. Notice we didn't get there this time. We went back to the upper side, and then we came down again, and we still couldn't get there. We should have, by the second attempt, we should have gotten there. So when it reversed there, you can see this channel working up through here real easily. Um, but it really was too late in the day once we got up there. And I circled this to talk about that area right there. Um, that was a tempting spot to enter right there, but we'll talk about it later. All right, let me back out just a little bit, make it a little bigger where it's easier for people to see. And really, by the time I came in this morning, we were already ranging here. Well, I take that back. We were just starting to range, I should say, because we were in this little downtrend right here. But notice we got a break of that little downtrend, and we just barely got a new low, and then we ranged from there on. So, but the first trade that I saw was really right almost at the open here. Notice that we had this move coming down. We got a first entry right here. We actually had a second entry right there, but it would turn out to be a doji, and it didn't close on its low or even a tick off its low. It was a little bit higher. So I was a little leery of that one. It was real tempting to take that one. And if you had if you used a one tick stop, you would have got stopped out. But I usually try to use a two tick stop a lot of times. I don't know if I've talked about that lately for that very reason. But I didn't like entering here because it ended as a doji. And that's the first break. So I usually like to wait and usually try to get a second entry off the high. But when this broke one tick higher and turned down and gave you that bearish bar, I liked it to enter there. It scared me for a minute because it looked like it was going to go higher again, but it ended up turning and going on down, so it worked out. But you did get that little trap there, and you got a much better bearish signal bar. It didn't close completely on its low, but this bar looks much better than this little doji over here, so that's why I liked it. And this is basically a little double top with a trap, and those usually are pretty good trades, especially if you're looking for prices to go lower, which we were. And then there's a little a little failed break higher, and you could almost treat like a failed second entry long, but there wasn't a lot of room between there and this low, and really there's a lot of stems, and there wasn't very much room at all between that entry and the last closes. So I was a little leery of that one, and I think that was the right move. I'm not sure. It looks like it probably would have worked. Your entry would have been 69.75. And so, yeah, it worked. You had a couple of ticks to spare. So that one really could be, my first thought was I don't want to take it, but maybe you could have. But yeah, I'll go ahead and circle that one green, even though I didn't like it. I could see there's some reasons to maybe want to be aggressive and take it because you might get another leg down like this. But at the same time, we were kind of looking for, we really were looking for a retest of this high too. So there's some other reasons to, uh, you know, be leery of some of this too. So, but then it bounces here, and again, we did get a new low, but it's just a little aggressive taking that first bounce. We didn't have enough information yet. You can see the EMA is pretty flat by that time, but there's not enough information to say this is definitely a range yet. You can see the resistance across the top really easily, but that's the first test of this low down here. So, it's a little bit aggressive, but it is a second entry long too. Pull back, first entry, pull back, and that's a fairly bearish bar. So some people are going to want to take that trade. I wouldn't take this second entry off the low because it's back too close to the high. I'd be waiting to see if we got resistance there again, which we did, and you got a nice short. Look how bearish that bar is. Nice short. It took a minute to break. It didn't break lower on this bar, so you might have even, since it didn't, you could probably consider using a limit order maybe at the lows or a tick back and trying to get a little better entry, but it didn't matter. You could use a stop there and look at it go, and then it reverses, and now you've double tested this low here, and now it's looking like a range, top and bottom. I like going long there. I don't like the second entry into the EMA, especially with that bearish bar. But when you got the failed second entry short there, it went lower first and then broke out the top. Just go long there. And you figure, your target is the top here. And it did break through, but it turns down pretty quickly. And then you get a trap. I didn't like going short up here off of this because of the two little small bars that kind of are two dojis almost. And then this one was a doji closing in the middle. Then this one was a doji closing in the middle. But a lot of times I like these trades right here because that's a small risk entry on a failed break higher. Then you got a trap too. So when it broke higher and turned down, I'm okay going short right there. But I did mark it green because there's some risk right there because of that little bit of overlap. And this trend line is not confirmed, but it is a failed break, and most of the time those are going to at least come back and test, the EMA or what the last kind of resistance area, which was right there, and the EMA was right there too. So there's a lot of reasons to want to take that trade, and so I'm going to mark it in green. You did get another shot at it right here, but again, it's right there into that EMA. This one was a doji. I just wasn't crazy about it. After the fact, it looks like a no-brainer. But at the time, I really thought we were going to push higher and test this high. And maybe that's too much of me thinking ahead, trying to be smarter than the market. Maybe if this would have broke higher and went out all in one bar, I would have liked it better. But I just didn't like that one. I'll go ahead and circle it green because after the fact, it's real obvious. But when you're watching this stuff in real time, you don't want to press yourself. You want to follow the rules, and that's what causes most people to lose. They do not follow the rules. Okay, a slight interruption, but yes, I'll go ahead and give that a green one. And then it bounced right here. It bounced a little bit higher, and it gave you a big reversal bar. So this is when I really thought we were going to go higher. And notice this channel, and we didn't have a retest of the high. So I really thought we were going to push on up and retest this high and this one. But then it pulls back, and it gives you another chance. So you could add on here or enter again here. I like this one. This is really looking like it's going to reverse. But you know for sure, or you don't know for sure, but you assuming it's at least going back to here. And notice where it turns down, right there at that resistance point. And So you can go short right there if you want. That's a second entry short. Um, and then it pulls back here and gives you another, and it goes out the top and then turns and goes out the bottom. So you can enter here or you can add on here. I would have liked that. These are both ones I add on. If I'm not already scalped out of the first one, I'm going to add on here. And the same thing here. If I haven't scalped out of this first one, I'm going to add on right here because I like these trades. And here's a couple other things that I haven't even talked about. Not only did this turn down right off of the strong resistance up here on the range, but notice how it confirmed this trend line coming down through here. Originally I had it just a tad higher, and it may be a little higher, but I adjusted it later in the day because of when we came up a little short right there. I adjusted it some, and you can see that now we get the touchdown here. So um, but anyway, I like those two, and those are both ones you can add on. And then we had a failed second entry long there. Notice that's a new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And also, normally these breakouts will fail and go higher, but you would have had this trend line by this time and possibly noticed there's a midline. You should have. And even if you didn't, this is still a breakout pullback short and a good trade. And you really think you're going all the way down here, but it doesn't. It bounces a little early. And and then you get a failed second entry long. Notice that new low, pull back first entry, or actually that's not a failed second entry long. Well, it is counting off the low. First entry, pull back second entry, and but anyway, you get a second entry short right there. I liked it. It's a double test. It's really a double test of this area. Um, it's there's a couple different reasons, but then you get that failed move, and this looks really bullish. And people that don't understand what's going on are thinking, hey, it's time to go long, and all they do is trick them, and it goes straight to where you think it would go down here at the lows. And then we're pulling back, and it did turn down right off the trend line here, but look at all those bars stacked up. Um, that's a congestion area that I should have that circled in the burgundy. Let me copy that and pull it over here and go ahead and circle it. I mean, those are the areas you got to avoid. It worked this time, but it doesn't always work. And it pulls back here and gives you a breakout pullback short. But I didn't like that setup because of that gap right there. A lot of times prices will pull back like this and test that gap or fill that gap and then continue to go higher. So I thought it was better to wait and see if you got a better entry. And of course you do. Now you get the failed second entry long right here. Notice that's a new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and there's a nice bearish bar in there. So you can go short there. And once again, it it created another little trap, and it looked like it was going to fail and be a double failure, but it doesn't. It turns back. It ends up being a double long failure, and it turns back down. And so I would add on there, and if I wasn't already in, I'm definitely entering right there. And there's another chance to get you a double load on a quick move. And you really could have entered short again here if there would have been a better signal bar. But notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bars stacked up there. Turned out to be a really good trade, but I was just a little leery of it. And there is a trend line working down through here um, that originally I had like so. And so we had a break and a new low, but we ended up pushing on down a little further. And and you see how that fits pretty good in there, but maybe after the fact you notice that it changes a little bit, and it probably was a little flatter like so, and we probably didn't get the break till here. But you can't tell that by what we had so far. Generally your swing is off your trend line's off the first few bars or swing, and that would have put it a little steeper, but in the end I think this was it. But you couldn't tell that till we got a little more price action off the lower side. And but anyway, I don't think you really got the break till here, and then two legs down, and then of course it reverses. And again, there's a short-term trend line right up through here. We got the break, the new high. That's a second entry short. It's right off the trend line. Just go short there. I didn't like going short here because of the midline. It's not a very good signal bar. It did break and go higher first and then go lower. If you want to be really, really aggressive, you could have gone short there, but I think you're better off skipping that one. And then notice what happens here. Notice there's two legs up. Even though there's no break there, a lot of times you can treat that like a, I mean, on a smaller chart, that is a failed second, that is a second entry short right there. But notice that bar. Notice that bar with the stems on both sides, and another one that's it's like an inside bar. Um, that's a little, and this one even has some stems stacked up next to it. Um, and the fact that we went twice and didn't get back down to this line, that's telling you something. It's telling you to beware. And it's tempting to go long there, but on this particular chart, this is not a failed, on a smaller chart, this is a failed second entry short, and you could have gone long there. So if you were really, really aggressive, but look at that bar too. That's a scary type bar. I think you're better off to skip this and not, especially this late in the day, because you only got 30 minutes to try to make it up. And so that's the reason I circled this. I wanted to talk about it. It's very tempting to go short, and you would have got burned to the short side. It would have worked to the long side, but too many times I've seen it burn you to the long side and then reverse again, especially this late in the day. Um, so this is just not a very good setup, and I figure people will ask me about it, so I thought I'd talk about it. And of course, that got you into the 2 o'clock hour before you got another setup, and you really didn't get your failed second. You got a failed second entry short right here, but I don't even think I would have taken that one. When it turned down again and went up, I probably would have considered entering there. And by the time we confirmed this trend line, I might have thought about entering again if it wasn't so late. But that's neither here nor there. So, and that was pretty much it today. Pretty standard, some nice volatility. It was started off a little iffy, wondering what was going to happen, but it continued to work lower. And one other thing I'll show you here before I wrap up, I believe this is pretty close to a measured move down. It's probably a little more, and that's another clue that we may go lower. But there's your first part of your channel, and there's your, well, it's a perfect measured move. So much for that. Just looking at it, eyeballing it, I guess because there's no price action in here. This looks bigger, but that would have been my target. And once we started moving lower here, I would have been looking for this for a target. And you can see why, because there's your measured, your first channel, and you're looking for a measured move, and there it is. So another thing I might have considered is I would have measured this one. And when we started going lower there, I would have measured it from here, and that got you that one. So use those measured legs and measured moves and so forth. They really work, and they keep you on the, they allow you to stay in the trade a little longer and feel a little better about it. So, but I'm going to wrap this up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.